The quiet between thoughts. In the space between your thoughts, there exists a sanctuary so few ever visit. Have you felt it? That moment of perfect stillness when one thought has ended and another has yet to begin. The quiet pause. The breath between words. You race through life, thought after thought, worry chasing worry. Your mind a perpetual motion machine. But what lives in those microscopic spaces between your thoughts? What treasures hide in that quietude? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But perhaps he missed something crucial. Perhaps it depends equally on the spaces between them. Notice how your body feels when you're lost in thought. Tense, contracted, braced. Now notice how it feels in those rare moments when thinking stops. Expansive, open, free. We've been trained to value the noise, the constant chatter, the incessant planning. What if the most valuable territory is the silence? Your thoughts are not you. Did you know that? They move through you like weather patterns across the sky. You are the awareness that witnesses them. The quiet observer. We seek control in such strange places. In perfect plans. In others' approval. In endless analysis. Yet true mastery lies in your relationship with the spaces, your willingness to rest in the quiet between thoughts. How often do you allow yourself to linger there? In that still point where you are not your past, not your future, simply present. The mind resists this space at first. It will fill it with anything: distractions, worries, memories. The ego fears the quiet because in silence, it cannot maintain its illusions of separation and control. Friedrich Nietzsche understood this when he said, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe." But perhaps the greatest struggle isn't against external forces, but against the tribal voices we've internalized, the endless mental chatter that pulls us from the present. What might you discover if you extended those spaces? If you learned to rest more comfortably in the quiet between thoughts? Perhaps you'd find that what you've been seeking has been present all along. Your emotions arise and subside in these spaces too. Feel them without the story. The raw sensation without the narrative. There is wisdom in this witnessing. The quiet between thoughts is where healing happens, where inspiration strikes, where love grows. Not in the noise of mental activity, but in the fertile silence that cradles it. This is your invitation. To notice the spaces. To befriend the quiet. To discover who you are when thinking subsides. Because in the end, we are not the stream of consciousness flowing through us. We are the riverbed, the container, the quiet awareness that remains when everything else falls away. Rest here a while, in the quiet between your thoughts. It's been waiting for you. The tyranny of constant thought. Consider for a moment how we glorify busyness. The full calendar, the racing mind, the person who never stops thinking. We've constructed a civilization that rewards the endless production of thoughts while punishing the spaces between them. When was the last time you sat in a meeting and said, "I need a moment of silence to process this"? When did you last respond to "What are you doing?" with nothing? Absolutely nothing? We've developed a peculiar relationship with thinking. We believe more is always better. Faster is always better. That to stop thinking is to stop existing in some fundamental way. Carl Jung observed this modern affliction when he wrote, "Thinking is difficult, that's why most people judge." Yet perhaps the greater difficulty isn't thinking itself, but allowing ourselves not to think. To surrender to the quiet. To trust the wisdom that emerges not from mental activity but from its absence. Your nervous system knows this truth. It recognizes that constant thought is not your natural state. It's an adaptation, a survival mechanism that has outgrown its usefulness. Like a muscle perpetually tensed, your mind has forgotten how to fully release. Feel the exhaustion in that. The subtle but persistent drain of energy. The way your thoughts begin to loop and circle when they're never given proper rest. The space where freedom lies. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies your freedom. Your power to choose. Your humanity itself. This insight, often attributed to Viktor Frankl, points to something profound about our nature. The space between external events and our reaction to them isn't empty, it's pregnant with possibility. It's where choice lives, where agency is born. Similarly, the space between thoughts isn't empty. It's fertile, rich with potential, alive with intelligence that transcends conceptual thinking. Have you noticed how solutions often appear not while actively thinking about a problem, but after you've stopped? How the perfect word comes not when you're searching for it, but when you've surrendered the search. This is no coincidence. It's evidence of a different kind of intelligence, one that operates best in the quiet. Your most creative insights, your deepest realizations, your moments of genuine connection, these rarely happen amid the noise of thought. They emerge from the silence that cradles thought. What would your life look like if you expanded these spaces? If you allowed more room between thoughts? Not to stop thinking entirely, thoughts serve essential purposes, but to develop a new relationship with thinking. To recognize thought as a tool rather than a master. The emotional landscape of silence. There's a particular quality to emotions that arise in the quiet between thoughts. Cleaner, clearer, unclouded by narrative. When a feeling emerges without an accompanying story, without the because and the what if and the this means that, you experience it differently. More directly. More honestly. Anger without justification. Joy without reason. Grief without explanation. In these moments, emotion becomes a physical experience rather than a mental one. Sensation rather than story. Energy moving through the body rather than content occupying the mind. This is emotional intelligence at its most fundamental level, the ability to feel without immediately thinking about what you feel. To experience without analyzing the experience. Notice the difference in your body when you allow this. The shoulders that soften. The breath that deepens. The subtle shift from resistance to acceptance. Emotions processed in this space tend not to linger. They move through you like weather patterns, changing and dissolving naturally when not held in place by thought. This is emotional fluidity, the natural state of your emotional body when not constrained by mental rigidity. The social dimension of inner quiet. We fear silence in social settings. The awkward pause. The uncomfortable silence. Yet what makes these moments uncomfortable isn't the silence itself, but our interpretation of it. Our belief that silence must be filled. That connection happens only through exchange. What might become possible if we allowed more quiet in our interactions? If we didn't rush to fill every gap? There's an intimacy available in shared silence that often surpasses what's possible through words. A direct recognition. A communion that transcends language. You felt this perhaps with a close friend or lover. Those moments when words fall away and something deeper emerges. A quality of presence. Of being seen and seeing beyond the constant narration of experience. This quality of connection becomes possible when we bring the quiet between thoughts into our relationships. When we allow ourselves to be with another without the buffer of continuous mental activity. The most profound forms of human connection often happen not through the exchange of thoughts, but through the sharing of presence. The mutual recognition of the awareness behind thinking. The control paradox. We believe thinking gives us control. That by analyzing, planning, and preparing, we can manage life's inherent uncertainty. Yet this sense of control is largely illusory. The more tightly you grip, the more life slips through your fingers. The more desperately you seek certainty through thought, the more it eludes you. True control comes not from more thinking, but from skillful relationship with thinking. From knowing when to engage the analytical mind and when to rest in the quiet between thoughts. There's a surrender required here. A letting go of the belief that constant vigilance of thought will somehow protect you from life's inherent unpredictability. As Lao Tzu observed, by letting it go, it all gets done. The world is won by those who let it go. This isn't passive resignation but active surrender. Not giving up but giving over to something larger than your thinking mind. Trusting the intelligence that operates in the spaces between thoughts. The practice of cultivating space. How do we expand these spaces? How do we develop a new relationship with the quiet between thoughts? It begins with recognition, with noticing when you're lost in thought and when you're resting in awareness. This simple act of noticing creates space itself. It interrupts the automatic nature of thinking and introduces choice. Then comes the practice of pausing, of intentionally creating gaps in the stream of thought. This might be formal meditation, or it might be momentary pauses throughout your day. The breath that you fully feel before responding to a question. The moment of silence before beginning a meal. The pause before reaching for your phone. These small spaces accumulate. They begin to expand naturally as you recognize their value, as you taste the freedom and ease available in the quiet. This isn't about stopping thoughts permanently. It's about developing a different relationship with thinking. About recognizing thought as one expression of your intelligence rather than its totality. The mind trained to value space becomes more efficient in its thinking, more precise, more creative. It no longer wastes energy on unnecessary thought loops or repetitive patterns. It thinks when thinking serves a purpose and rests in the quiet when thinking isn't needed. The ultimate freedom. Perhaps the greatest gift of cultivating the quiet between thoughts is the freedom it offers. Freedom from the tyranny of your own mind. From the constant judgment, evaluation, and commentary that accompanies most moments of your life. In these spaces, you discover that you are not your thoughts, not your emotions, not your sensations. You are the awareness in which all these phenomena arise and subside. This recognition, what some traditions call awakening, isn't an intellectual understanding but a direct experience. A lived reality that fundamentally changes your relationship with yourself and the world. It reveals that what you've been seeking through endless thinking, security, peace, fulfillment, was never available through thought. It was always present in the spaces between thoughts, in the quiet that is your essential nature. So I invite you once more to pause, to notice, to rest in the quiet between your thoughts. Not as an escape from life but as an entrance into its fullness. Not as rejection of thinking but as recognition of what transcends thought. Because in this quiet space, you are already complete, already at peace, already home. And from this space, when thinking resumes, it does so with greater clarity, creativity, and compassion. Thought becomes the servant rather than the master. A tool used with precision rather than a compulsion that uses you. This is the promise of the quiet between thoughts. Not an end to thinking, but a new beginning. Not absence, but presence. Not emptiness, but fullness beyond measure. Rest here a while, in the quiet between your thoughts. It has always been waiting for you.